The Anasazi's hideaway definitely felt like an outpost or watchtower. But what were they watching for? Vaughn says that their most likely enemy, the Navajo, didn't come to this area for at least another 100 years. In fact, there doesn't seem to be evidence of any other tribes around here in the 13th century. So who was the enemy? I need to find out what was happening to the Anasazi before they moved into the cliffs. It's time to visit an old friend. He's a developer near Cortez, Colorado, just down the road from Mesa Verde. There's no bigger enthusiast about the Anasazi. He's found hundreds of ruins on his land, entire villages where the Indians lived before they took to the cliffs.
Hi, Josh, how are you?
Hi, Archie.
Good to be back. Great.
You guys have been busy.
Oh, we sure have.
His name is Archie Hansen.
I'll show you what we're doing. You haven't
He's
seen
uncovered
this.
some pretty incredible evidence, which could explain what drove the Anasazi to take refuge.
A lot of new sites.
A lot of them, and we've done a lot of work here.
How many are you at right now?
Well, we're up to about 215 sites across the property right now. And you can come out in
Archie's prize site is this partially reconstructed pueblo that probably housed about 20 people, or 4 families.
way over there in that kiva. So we have quite a network.
It was occupied continuously from around 650 to 1150 AD. One of the most fascinating things Archie's found is a maze of tunnels that connect the communal rooms, or kivas, with the other living areas. And I've just got to explore where they go. But I find out the hard way how small these people were. The men were about 5'4", the women only 5 feet tall.
Tight squeeze, Arch.
At 6 feet and 180 pounds, I can barely squeeze through. And this is only the beginning of what Archie's excavations have uncovered.
Look at all these pot shards. Look at this. I mean, can you imagine finding this many pot shards? And this is just a small tray sample. Look at these, look at this. Look at this corrugated pot. You can imagine finding that, not just on the trail, but on your own property. It's stunning. I would be excited. I'd be excited if I just found this piece. But he's got buckets and buckets and buckets and buckets. Look at all these studies. Macrobotanical remains, bioarchaeology of disarticulated remains, faunal remains, disturbed sites. He's invested so much time, and the benefit is that all of us get a much clearer picture of who the Anasazi really were.
And what Archie and his team of archaeologists have found is far from the traditional image of the peaceful Anasazi.
Are you finding any bones in your sites here?
Oh, everyone.
Everyone?
Yes, we did. We found several bodies over here. We found over in the end one.
So the picture here was not one of a peaceful village.
Well, that they didn't leave this in a peaceful condition. This is evidently the end of the trip for them. This is death and violence.
There were 3 sunken kivas in this pueblo. They were once the heart of Anasazi communal life.
This is beautiful.
But they became the scene of horrible massacres, with strong evidence of cannibalism.
Did you find any bodies or any bones in here?
In this particular one, no, but we found some that were in the center one and the other one down at the end.
All of them indicated cannibalism?
Everyone contributed to it, yes. They were broken up. There are many different signs. The signature of cannibalism is extremely positive. There have to be 7 particularly salient facts there. Oh, they're just to numerize some of them. Pot polish on the end of green strict fractures. They have to have the bones broken open, the marrow extracted from that, bodies disarticulated, heads missing, vertebrae there, no hands, no feet. Unfortunately,
this is controversial stuff. Native Americans strongly object to their ancestors being characterized as cannibals. Yet many archaeologists find the evidence in Anasazi sites compelling. They cite signs like pot polish, tiny areas of polish that form when a bone is cooked in a clay pot, and cut marks and abrasions that are identical to those seen on animals which have been consumed. What Archie was saying was that his site is full of such evidence.
We had a 14-year-old male and estimated 21-year-old male, and they were butchered and probably consumed down there because they found them on parts and pieces in the fire pit and on the benches going around, etc. We reinterred what we could find in that other kiva into the wall.
After the massacre, evidence suggests that any remaining residents abandoned this pueblo and moved on.
What made them decide as a community, time to go?
Well, I think that if I was back in that day and age and I had a marauding force come in here and wipe out an entire pueblo where I was living, stuff bodies in the kiva and everything else, that I would think was not a very good place to live, and I think I would move. I would want more protection.
So you're saying that the warfare wasn't internal. There was actually marauders coming into these communities?
Well, you've opened a whole box of guesses about that one. And my guess would be that they were outside external forces. Was it a neighbor who did not have sufficient food and you had a food supply? Or whether they were people coming from Mexico, which is a big conjecture about this thing at this time.
Using Archie's Wi-Fi network, I searched the web for evidence of Anasazi cannibalism. Suspicious bones have been found at about 50 archaeological sites. Not a lot when you look at the whole history of the Anasazi, but the curious thing is that almost all the evidence dates from the same period. Beginning around 900 AD and peaking around 1150. These dates correspond exactly to the time when Anasazi civilization was dominated by a place called Chaco Canyon, a city as mysterious as it is grand. It's also in the middle of nowhere. Mutilated bones, evidence of cannibalism. Everything Archie Hansen said at his pueblo seems to point to something going terribly wrong in the Anasazi world by the mid-12th century. And the clues to this violence point to Chaco Canyon, the Anasazi's greatest achievement, now a desolate ruin in the New Mexico desert. On Cedar Mesa, I saw some convincing evidence that fear drove the Anasazi into the cliffs. To understand the root of that fear, I have to understand Chaco and what shook the walls of that great stone city.
I need to see these ruins from above, so I've called in my friend Bubba Peters with his PPG to help get me into the air.